You truly have no idea who I am, do you? I am Constantine, Emperor of Rome, ruler of continents, tamer of rebellions, master of legions, and, apparently, the villain of every bargain-price documentary on your streaming services. Yes, I've seen the memes, I've seen the threads, I've seen the scholars on the internet who learned history from a carousel post with 3 emojis and a flame icon. He chose the books of the Bible. He invented the Trinity. He voted to turn Jesus into God. Truly fascinating. I didn't know I had such free time between crushing tyrants, rebuilding cities, issuing laws, reorganizing the army, and trying to stop bishops from screaming at each other like drunk philosophers at a tavern. Amazing. I wish someone had told me I did all that. It would have looked great on my resume. But since you enjoy a good story, sit down. Let me tell you the real one, the one so wild, so chaotic, so packed with human absurdity, that not even your conspiracy theorists could invent a version this ridiculous. The year was 325. My empire stretched from the gloomy forests of Britannia to the scorching deserts of Egypt. If you sneeze today in Europe, Asia, or North Africa, chances are you're sneezing somewhere inside what used to be mine. And yet Rome was shaking. Not because of invading armies, not because of famine, not because of corruption, but because a group of bishops couldn't agree on whether Jesus had a beginning. Yes, the mighty Roman Empire, the titan of nations, almost imploded because theologians were arguing over a verb tense. Alexandria turned into a battlefield. People were punching each other over interpretations of Scripture. Merchants debated doctrine while selling olives. Fishermen yelled theology at the docks. Even soldiers whispered opinions as if discussing imperial strategy. I watched this chaos unfold and thought, I have fought barbarians, tyrants, traitors, and storms. But this is my final boss. So I did what any emperor with a headache the size of Mesopotamia would do. I summoned every bishop in the empire. 1,800 invitations, hand-delivered, sealed with my authority. An imperial, get over here. How many came? Around 250. That's right. The legendary world-shaping council had the attendance of a poorly advertised village festival. Some bishops crossed deserts, rivers, and mountains. Some sailed through storms for weeks. Others? Oh, the emperor wants us? Maybe later. And all because of one man. Arius, the soft-spoken firestarter. A man whose calm voice could ignite an empire. He said Jesus was divine, yes, but not eternal. Created. A cosmic masterpiece, but still created. His bishop, Alexander, reacted with the grace of a lion kicked awake. Absolutely not. Jesus always existed. Same divine substance, same glory, same eternity. And that, my dear listener, is when the theological volcano erupted. Churches split overnight, families divided, cities turned into doctrinal war zones. People whispered the words essence and substance as if handling forbidden weapons. When the bishops arrived in Nicaea, I had one hope, that my imperial presence would force some decorum. Oh, Constantine, sweet summer emperor. The moment discussions began, they started shouting, waving scrolls, banging tables. One bishop even slapped another. Yes, a holy slap. In a theological council. And then came the moment that nearly made me leave the room entirely. In the middle of a heated debate about whether Jesus existed forever, a group of bishops, grown men with beards and experience and allegedly wisdom, stood up and said, Emperor, we must address something far more urgent. I leaned forward. The room went silent. Finally, I thought, sanity. Their question: should Christians kneel or stand on Sundays? My soul temporarily departed my imperial body. Imagine commanding armies across the world, and then being dragged into a debate about posture, not warfare posture, prayer posture. I should have issued a decree banning nonsense. Then came the word, a word sharp as a blade, a word that sliced through the chatter and froze every face. Homoousios, of the same substance. Silence, shock, breath held. Because if Jesus was the same substance as God, then Arius's argument died instantly. If not, We teetered on the edge of a schism that might fracture regions and loyalties. Scribes bent over parchments, whispers moved like currents. I watched men who would not bow to kings now bow to terminology. And then they wrote the Creed, line by line. They hammered the language into place like smiths tempering steel. We voted. How many will oppose? I wondered. 100? 50? No. 2. Only 2 brave, stubborn men refused. Arius, condemned, exiled. His writings, burned in a brazier, ash swirling up like a grim offering. I thought, finally, peace. Foolish me. History loves irony. Eusebius recorded it. Athanasius wrote like a general taking a city. Eustathius annotated the chaos, and all 3 agreed. We did not discuss the Bible. We did not choose books. We never debated Gospels. They did not because the canon was not yet closed. Different provinces used different collections. Some communities read the Shepherd of Hermas, others read letters that never made the modern shelf. Some local churches used psalms and apocryphal texts as regular reading. The situation was messy. Some manuscripts coexisted. Some bishops favored older, well-known writings. Others preferred local works that had spiritual authority in their communities. And here is the kicker. 50 years after Nicaea, the debates about which books mattered were still raging. If I had settled the canon in 325, would they still be arguing in 375? Of course not. So why the myth that I picked the Bible? Because your species prefers tidy narratives. A single villain is easier to point at than a slow, noisy process full of compromises, petty rivalries, and incremental change. People want to believe in decisive masters of destiny. They love conspiracies that make them feel they've uncovered hidden hands. But reality looks like scrolls, exhausted scribes, cramped scriptoria, and bishops who smell of oil and sweat and have very human tempers. Nicaea was not a plot to control Scripture. It was a messy emergency meeting to stabilize a fracturing world. Let me add a few spicy details you probably won't hear in a flashy doc with dramatic music. First, timing and politics mattered. I was not some idle philosopher. I was an emperor juggling borders, taxes, succession, and legitimacy. A priestly quarrel that split cities could quickly turn into rebellion. Unity of faith diplomatically supported unity of state. So yes, pragmatic politics sit behind what many call theology. Second, not everything that survives in later histories reflects the raw noise of that summer. Many records were written by partisans, men loyal to bishops who won or bitter against those who lost. That colors the stories you read now. When Eusebius praises order, remember he had friends who preferred one outcome. When Athanasius writes like a general taking a city, understand he fought hard for his theological side. Third, the council did more than argue metaphysics. It established canons, rules about clerical behavior, about church order, about how bishops move between sees. It regulated practical things, how the clergy lived, how to stop greed and usury among priests, even how people should pray on certain days. Fourth, the decision about Easter was crucial. Prior to Nicaea, Christian communities used several calendars and methods inherited from Jewish practice and local customs. Nicaea insisted on a unified calculation, independent of Jewish calendrical reckoning, precisely to remove another source of division. A technical calendar decision? Perhaps. But the unity it produced mattered more than any single phrase in a creed. Fifth, the myth-making economy is strong. Later writers, novelists, and cunning preachers needed a story of a villain shaping destiny to make sense of complex history. People prefer a single hand pulling strings over a noisy, messy, bureaucratic process full of compromises, petty fights, and slow evolution. Finally, the impact of Nicaea didn't make Christianity monolithic overnight. It was a step, an important one, in a centuries-long process. Councils continued, debates persisted, and the final lists of Scripture took shape region by region, synod by synod. This is how human institutions evolve, messy, incremental, and often comedic in retrospect. So yes, the memes are fun. The conspiracies are louder. The villains are memorable. But if you want the messy human truth, the awkward, the petty, the heroic, and the tired, you have it here. Now, go back to your streams, your comment sections, your late-night takes. Prefer the noise if you want. But if you ever thirst for the real thing, remember, History is complicated, and emperors have to keep the lights on.